And like, just imagine the extent of what is happening behind what you see out the window in Hartsfield, and the amount of energy that is consuming to do that, and the amount of infrastructure. It's truly like the ghost technology. It's a hidden infrastructure. And so this panel is going to really dig into that, because there are significant challenges in being able to move that forward and bring full sustainability into that. So like we said, Dr. Quinto, I'm really appreciate it. Colin, thanks for joining us. Stefan, thank you as well for joining on this panel. I'm going to push pretty quick because I want to get into the conversation. But why don't we just do quick introductions as we come down so everybody knows what we're doing. There we go. So Dr. Quinto.
Good evening, everyone. Here's acoustics. So my name is Dr. Quinto Warren. I'm the Senior Director of Sustainability for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. And that means that anything tied to sustainability comes to me.
Hi everyone, my name is Colin Graves and I'm with ADM. For those of you who don't know ADM is probably the largest company you've ever heard of. So we do a lot of things around processing of agricultural commodities, transportation of agricultural commodities. We're a Fortune 50 company that probably makes something in everything that you eat.
Oh, my mic here. All right, thanks. Good to be here again and be present with, honored to be present with this panel speaking group. My name is Stefan Hart. I was formerly the sales VP for ports and airports, and now I'm in transition to the power generation. And I will explain to you exactly why, and it has to do a lot with what we got to talk here about today. But my role is to really understand the end users and even the consumers. What are their pain points? So speaking to Hartsfield and even ADM, and somehow is influenced by our impact because we are the underlying power infrastructure behind everything from Hartsfield to ADM. So it's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks for the intros. And Colin, I just want to add, like, yeah, ghost technology, right? I mean, that's what I was saying. There is so much that happens behind an outlet. And you can imagine what that is, that's how we move. What is it now? 1 million people or something? What moves through Hartsfield? It's an enormous number.
It's 106.3 million last year.
106.3 million people through the airport. So imagine the infrastructure sitting behind that. So I actually wanted to start with you, Dr. Winter, and ask, like, what are you seeing that's really very exciting and helping us move towards sustainability at Hartsfield?
I could answer this so many ways, but I think the most exciting thing for me right now is data. So we have a number of sustainability goals at the airport. You already heard that we are the busiest airport in the world. 106.3 million last year. That's just under 300,000 people a day. And that's on average. So some days it's more people than that. So we have a couple sustainability goals, one being net zero by 2050, another one being 100% clean energy by 2035. That's a lot sooner. So when I got to the airport, my first question to myself was, well, where are we with any of this? And there was data, but it was decentralized, it was all over the place, and no analysis had been done. So I'm really excited because today I can tell you a lot of our emissions come from the electricity that we buy. A lot of it comes from the vehicles. We have a huge fleet of vehicles to make all of the things that you don't see happen. And the solution to that is to cut down on gasoline and cut down on diesel, electrify. But remember what I just said? A lot of our emissions are coming from electricity. So in as much as we're electrifying, we need to find ways to make sure that we're using clean energy. So I'm excited because I can point out exactly where the issues are and how we need to solve them.
Awesome, thank you. I think maybe, Stefan, we'll go to you because I think there's a really interesting play there. We need to work out how do we deliver clean energy to these airports and port structures. So I don't know if you want to speak to that and share your insights on that.
Yes, of course. And there's a lot of breakthrough happening in the airport space. And I would say, and now let me tell you now why I'm in transition to power gen. And what we realize is that before we charge a charging station or a charging station for a EV or a ground support equipment, you got to generate the power, right? Doesn't matter if you electrify everything. So kind of like towards what Chris was saying is we are expanding and we are focusing now into the even more invisible
aspects versus just the visible of what we see in our world is to really build that power infrastructure because demand is resetting the market. We heard this today, right? Data centers, electrification. I mean, we got to change our model. Secondly, there's a lot of constraints and hidden risk, and wire and cable is one of those. So there's a realization of the hidden risk beyond just turbines or anything else, right? So we are starting to play a more important role. And lastly, the model is changing. So from how we go to market by dealing upstream more than letting how business was pre-COVID, we got to change the model. So we're seeing that movement happening.
Yeah, I think we're going to pin and come back to some of that. But Colin, I wanted to kind of go to you, and we're sort of hearing like the importance of logistics, even to the extent of just like cabling. You can imagine the amount of cabling that's sitting at an airport. So, obviously you were saying that you're Fortune 50. So where are you seeing kind of things moving forward in sort of rethinking, retooling logistics, sort of tooling infrastructure? If you want to kind of share your thoughts on where we think that's going.
Sure. I think first of all, transportation is in ADM's DNA. We've been in the processing and transportation business for about 125 years. So from moving commodities from the farm all the way through processing into the end product. We run a fleet of 2,000 barges. We have 12 probably ocean-going vessels. We have about 40,000 rail cars that we run and about 600 trucks in the United States. So it's an extensive network. Over that, call it 100 years, we have looked at how can we take as much of the cost out of the transportation as possible. We also, at the same time, have our own sustainability goals, what we call Strive 35, in terms of a 25% reduction by 2035. So to us, it's really a balance. And I thought it was important to hear what the last panel said in terms of it has to be economic. We have to do things that make sense. We operate in an environment that's very almost razor-thin margins, and we can't afford what the Googles, the Apples of the world can afford in terms of their sustainability and what they can do to do it. So we're looking at every option that we can for that, whether that's, and again, this is more on the liquid fuel side. Electricity plays a role in this as well, but from a liquid fuel standpoint, we're looking at how can we use more renewable fuels in our barges? How can we, work with the railroads to use more liquid fuels there? Electricity is coming in some of those types of transportation modes. It's just not there yet. So we've got to figure out how we can bridge to get that next step of whether electricity is the answer or whatever the answer is, get to that next one.
Yeah, I wonder if I can stay with you for a second, but if you want to sort of touch through hybrid technology. I think over the road is a great example. Barges, I'm assuming Mississippi, something like that, right? I mean, an amazing amount of freight moving up and down the Mississippi. Astonishing number, actually. We've got Black Warrior as well. There's a whole series of, it's actually the National Marine Highway, right? So we move a lot of freight around. I was wondering, like, where you see, I think full electrification is challenging. They're typically, 2,000 horsepower motors on the back of a barge. So I get that battery on that is a little way down the road. But do you see kind of hybridization as a way to bridge that gap?
Personally, we haven't seen a lot of it to this point. Now, you're more likely to have that in terms of your harbor tugs and your small boats that you can come back and recharge or do what you need to in terms of refueling. The line boats, not so much. The problem that you run into, and it's a little bit like aircraft and the airline industry runs into. Aircraft are not a short-lived asset. It's not like you're going to go buy a car and replace it in 5 years. The same thing with line boats and with tugs. They're a 40 plus, almost 50-year asset. So you're either repowering them, which is a lot harder, or you're trying to figure out what the optimal time is to buy new, and try to get as far into the future as you can in terms of thinking about what is the next technology that's coming along that we can then leverage to be able to do something like that, whether it's a hybrid or not.
Yeah, it's massively challenging as you think about the amount of power that is moving forward. And like pushing barges around, it's an extraordinary amount of power to do that. But it's just another good example of like technology we don't see, right? And so one of the things I wanted to kind of tap back and explore, and I really appreciated you like on pulling out the economics, right? And I think the first panel addressed that too as well. It's a very difficult push for us if the expectation is you're going to pay more for less service, or you're even going to pay the same for the same service. I mean, the goal is, we want to make sure that we drive sustainability through business model too. So I thought maybe we kind of just start to explore kind of horizon type questions, right? I mean, I know we've been having some fun stuff about different ways to do decentralized power generation, and the impact of, sort of just being able to deliver cabling to deliver work. So I thought maybe the first thing we could look at is maybe where are you starting to see really good alignment, if at all? I think there is some, between sort of business model and sustainability.
So I think where we find alignment is, especially when sustainability benefits meets the operational benefits, right? So, for instance, giving a case example, you mentioned shore power. So shore power, there's a great benefit for when you have a berth coming in the port, instead of connected to a diesel generator like Dr. Devon was talking about. Why not have connected to a shore power and an electrify, and instead of have it running idle on diesel, have it connected to the grid. So that's a big operational benefit for the port, the infrastructure who is handling that, and also from a sustainability impact. So that's when you see the alignment. Same thing with ground support equipment. Electrification makes much more sense, electrification in ground support equipment, because we do not have range anxiety, right? It's a limited space. So there's a lot of integration, natural integration, when it crosses between sustainability and operational benefits.
Yeah, I think ground vehicles we're gonna dig into a bit more as well, because that is a fascinating issue. I did want to kind of tack back through and sort of say, well, we looked at power and we looked at shore power, electrification and aviation. The planes themselves are going more electric, so Boeing's been pushing that way a little bit. So I don't know if you want to see, like, how does that happen? Because there's sort of two things we deliver at airport, right? There's shore power to an airplane, which is now a big thing. And then there's also ground fleet. So I thought maybe we could touch that with both of you. If you want to talk a little bit about that briefly, and then we're going to come to you. And I want to really unpack, because the ground power thing, I really feel like that's something that you truly don't see. But the amount of infrastructure that's sitting behind moving things around, I think we should really dig into that.
So ground support equipment, or EGSE, we call it. When instead of EV, we call it EGSE, or even on the ports, ECHD is cargo handling equipment. So it's the same equipment, same tugging system, and so on. So that's, you can see huge amount of investments from all the airports, and especially Hartsfield and Delta over there. They are really concerned about sustainability. So the electrification of the ground support, the support equipment is becoming a really nice sustainable solution to make airports as a world class. So that's my partake, but a lot of even transfer of our knowledge. We're facing the same issues that we faced with EV back in 2021. We're facing with ground support equipment as well, as far as standardization. So we got to learn from our past and transfer that knowledge now to the ground support equipment in electrification and make it better and faster.
Awesome, thanks. Dr. Quinton, you want to share some thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're lucky because we have a lot of strong partners in a lot of the airlines that operate out of our airport. So I think in order to electrify the ground support equipment that we have to be on the same page, right? We have to be aligned with the airlines, because they can buy the ground support equipment that's electric. But it's our duty as the airport to provide the infrastructure to make sure that they can charge those. And it's not just where the charges will go, is there enough electricity? So there's a lot of coordination that needs to happen with the utility as well. This is one of the things that my team is dealing with now. Right now I'm really lucky and I feel very spoiled, because anytime I go to my engineers and I say, okay, we need more electricity here and here, and they say, well, whatever you want. They'll go and they'll look at the panel, they say, well, yeah, there's extra capacity, or there isn't, and they'll say, but that's not a problem. We'll just get, Georgia Power or College Park Power to bring a transformer. They make it seem so easy. But I know that someday that's going to change, because the utility only has so much capacity. So right now what we're working on is putting together some strategic planning which will include an electrification plan, because I need to know in 10 years, will I get a different answer when I ask for power? Because maybe my engineers think we can get more transformers whenever we want to, but maybe at that point, right, because we're competing with data centers and other things, maybe at that point the utility is at capacity. So we need to be able to plan so that if Delta comes to us and says, we're buying, I don't know, 100 EGSE next year, we will know that in advance. Georgia Power will know that in advance, and we'll have worked to make sure that we can supply the power to support those needs.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't want to ping your team comment because I think Emily's over there, but she's got one of the quotes today. If you have an amazing team, you truly can't do anything. So I really loved that from your panel earlier, and that's kind of what you were just talking about. So I really do think that maybe we can touch really quickly because we don't watch time. But one of the pieces that I think we've spoken about in some of these panels before is like, what about people? Like, we're going to need engineers to be able to drive this forward. We're going to need sustainably minded folks that are looking at business models to do that. So I don't know if you guys can share some thoughts on your various industries. I mean, you're all part of major corporations. So just kind of where you see that challenge is what that's looking like. Is it, is there a recruitment cliff, or you think it's going in the right direction?
So, I'm not my personal feeling is that there's not a recruitment cliff, but that's maybe because of the way I view sustainability. So my team is myself and one other person, and we're doing this for the entire airport. It's a lot of people. There are about 63,000 people that work at the airport. So we have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people that we need to work with. But if you think about it, sustainability is sort of a strategic type of thing, right? Because I'm not doing actual construction, but I'm working with the teams that are building things at the airport. I'm not managing our fleet, but I'm working with the people that are buying new vehicles. So I'm less concerned, I guess, about a cliff, because we still need all of those specialties. We just need to teach them what sustainability is. We need to work with them so that we understand what they're doing, and then they understand what sustainability is. And the overlap is where we all live. I can't force my priorities on them, but I can pay attention to their pain points. I can solve the problems that they have and find co-benefits of sustainability to encourage them to take up the things that we need. So I see everyone continuing to do the things that they do, but with more knowledge, because we're going to do our job to educate them on that.
Awesome, thank you. Colin?
Yeah, so I think from our perspective, it's really, you could call it a cliff, but it's really, you've almost got two different generations here. So you've got an older generation that was production at all costs. And how do we make as much as we can, again, at any cost? And I think you've got a younger generation that's coming in as mindsets are changing within the industry and within society as a whole, who have a different perspective on things, and they're looking at it more, how do I make things sustainable? So we're in that transition period where we've got, again, this gap of, I don't want to call it a gap, but we've got, again, this two schools of thought on how to run a plant, how to be more efficient with our transportation assets, those types of things. So I think we continue to evolve through it. It's just taking time.
Cool. Awesome.
My birthday is, from my talent perspective, I like the term that formerly and Envision coined. We see the rise of the electric generation, right? So more and more, the new talents are more concerned about sustainability, value, more than just the P&L, right? So what is your sustainability impact or engagement just beyond your product profit? So that's a big shift that we're seeing, and learning how to adapt to that new culture as we clash those two generations is important, that change management of culture. Secondly, from a workforce, obviously there's a huge demand because of AI and data centers that are building. All the labor skills continues to be an issue to find talent in that regard. But from a corporate standpoint, is AI obviously is helping a lot in becoming more effective and efficient. To what you're saying, I'm also me and there's my buddy also working with me on the same initiative with the whole company. But AI is helping a lot in becoming more efficient, more effective. And you have agentic AIs, we have cloud code and all that kind of development that is really changing us the way how we do our work.
Can you share a bit more on that? I think a lot of folks would find that fascinating, like how you're deploying AI to accelerate workflows and.
Yeah, no, and I joke around. I use the Fantastic Four, so I'm actually orchestrating for AI apps all the time to do my work. So, from analysis of the market, from building 3D diagrams, or having a virtual visit at a plant, or in an airport, or in the field, you can generate that with AI, and based on that, you can really understand what problems the customer has that goes beyond just your product in the field. So there's so many ways, and obviously, also I'm seeing the rise, not only personally, but digital twins, right? So airports are becoming more digital as they get electrified. They get access to more data, and they can build digital twins and be able to manage their assets more effectively and efficiently. So we are seeing that in Hartsfield, right? They're starting to build even automation as well into their ground support equipment. So we see EGSC, but the next level is autonomous EGSC, and we have that in Hartsfield running around. So that's a little bit of my AI. Happy to talk more, but you can do incredible things that it will take you a year. You can compress that to a month. That's the feedback that I got.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. I wish we had a year to dig into that, but we've got about 3 minutes. So I just wanted to ping a few things on that, but you're talking about digital twins and the need to kind of hire folks, and you've been saying as well the shift, but we spent a day today with 3 representatives of 27,000 students that are getting educated in exactly this. So, and you guys are all doing digital twins, if I remember, right? Motorsports has got a digital twin, high tech's got a digital twin. So it's really cool. So some hope, right? We're moving in the right direction. I want to say the same thing. I want to say look into the future. So I want to kind of close this out with sort of 2 questions, right? If you're looking at sort of marine infrastructure, right, and what those ports look like, riverine, coastal, whatever it is, it's my magic whiteboard question. Like, what does it look like for you in 10 years' time? What are the things we kind of need to be doing? I'm going to ask you the same thing for airports.
So I think from our perspective, it's all about flexibility. I think when you look at what's happening on the fuel side in the shipping industry, for example, Maersk is looking at 2 fuel ships. Now everyone's talking about three different types of fuel ships. So it's having the flexibility to be able to meet the needs of whatever the customer wants. So, and I think about that from whether it's, again, and I'm from a liquid fuels background, but when I think about whether it's ethanol, methanol, bunker fuels, everybody's going to have this mix, and everybody's going to want to have that flexibility. And I think that is, if I were to say one word, that would be the word that I would say in terms of what the future looks like. To be able to have what is needed, where it's needed, and when it's needed.
Awesome. Thanks, Colin. So Dr. Quinte, kind of moving to you, like give us a sketch of where you think the sustainable airport is going to be, and what are steps we can all take now to get there?
So my personal dream, also our vision, is, so we're the busiest and most efficient airport in the world. Everybody knows that, we say it all the time. It's my goal for us to be also known as the most sustainable airport in the world. And we're making progress towards that. So my dream is for us to be that, right? So for us to be sustainable, to have sensors wherever we need them so that we understand exactly how much power we're using. We can tune things, we can digitally view how things are going, we can create scenarios. So I want sustainability to be also creating co-benefits for us beyond sustainability. Yes, let's reduce emissions, but let's also be more resilient, right? Let's put up solar panels so if the grid goes down, we have backup power, but it's sustainable backup power. Or it saves cost because it's cheaper than if we were buying power from the utility 100%. So that is my vision. That is my vision. We're sustainable, but sustainable is also bringing us all of these things that are improving Hartsfield-Jackson.
Awesome. Thank you so much, panel, for your insights. I just wanted to underpin sort of what you've been heard from both panels, right? But I think as we start to push further and we keep driving towards sustainability, we have to find a way to do that where it's profitable, right? We've got to find a way. You're just hearing that too, right? Is that we've got to be reducing a cost. At some point in time, it comes back to a P&L. It comes back to an ability to say, okay, yes, here above or below the line, I made a change. And I think the moment we get there, acceleration happens, right? We can do that really quickly because it's a much easier pull, with a much stronger pull force. And so, as I said earlier, it's a pretty cool group of folks. And so we have opportunities to nudge big needles. This is a big needle. So please join me in thanking the panel. I really appreciate our conversation. Thank you so much. And then again, please just join me in thanking Envision for bringing us together to allow this conversation to happen, to leading the way in sustainability for us. Just hugely appreciate that. So please thank you.